August 29, 2000, just after midnight. Camden County Sheriff's Deputy Sergeant Dan Jenkins pulls a car over on I-95, suspected in armed robberies in Florida.
There was a stolen vehicle. There was a be on the lookout for Valor alert.
He stopped the vehicle here on the side of the road on I-95 northbound. When the officer said step away from the car, said let me get my license. Turned around, says I've got it right here, reached in the car, came out with a gun and shot Deputy Jenkins. The incident lasted 20 seconds, 18 of which the officer was being shot.
A newcomer to the area with a business in Midway, TAC Argentinis went to Sergeant Jenkins' funeral.
And I saw that there was a widow following the casket with 5 children. And I went through the whole ceremony, and when everything was done, I met with the sheriff, identified myself, and asked them what benefits the family had. And he said, we're a small county, not much of a pension, but she has a job with the county that makes $20,000 to raise 5 children.
The dilemma struck a chord with Argentinis, whose son Chris had chosen police work in Wareham, Massachusetts.
I didn't want him to be a police officer because of the danger, until I realized that it wasn't a job. It was a calling.
In December of 1999, Christopher was chasing a suspected drug dealer when he was killed in the line of duty. He left behind his wife Maureen and 2 sons, 3.5 and 5.5. Fellow officers consoled Maureen by telling her about support she never knew existed.
We're telling my daughter-in-law not to worry because the 100 Club would take care of her. The police chief said it's a secret organization of businessmen. And when we lose somebody, they come across with a lot of money. You know, complete strangers. I even offered to send the money back because I felt I was in a financial position to take care of my family. But they would not accept it. They said it was in honor of your son.
With Christopher and Sergeant Dan Jenkins in mind, TAC hastened to form the 200 Club of the Coastal Empire, along with a handful of business leaders who rushed to support the organization whose efforts stretched from Beaufort and Jasper counties to the Florida line.
He came initially to me and Harry Haslam and said, I need you to help me start this club.
And he told us the story of losing his son, and it's probably etched in my brain the most memorable dinner conversation I've ever had, the courage it took for him to say that, and then to further say that he wanted to use that as the impetus for providing that support for the first responders here in Savannah.
In his darkest moment, he chose to not wallow in despair, but rise above that and make something good of it.
He knew that he had to do this for the families.
June 15th, 2012 was the worst day of our life. We just live with it daily. Every time something comes on the news about an officer or something, it just peels that scab right back open again. It's helped these kids a lot, a whole lot. God bless for the 200 Club is all I can say.
They formed this board of the 200 Club and asked me to come on the board, and I did, and then they asked me to chair it for a number of years, which I did, and TAC was the president. TAC was the guy running the club. I was just doing what TAC told me to do, you know.
The story TAC told to Mr. Haslam was told to hundreds of others. Indeed, TAC told it to anyone who would listen.
And I was moved. I mean, if you aren't moved by that story, you're somewhat cold, stone-hearted. And I asked how I could get involved, and it was explained to me, and I wrote him a check on the spot.
Overwhelmed, it all kind of is in a fog But when that fog lifts and you realize that you've got a family of community leaders helping you raise your child without your officer, it is truly something that has helped us for the last 10 to 12 years.
I call him my sensei, and I think other people do. He's the face of the organization, he's the heart of the organization.
The $1.2 million that has helped families of fallen police officers these past 12 years can be traced to one man who bared his soul and relived his grief daily so that others would suffer less.
What TAC has done is also the ultimate display of courage to tell that story over and over again of his son's passing, and so I can think of nothing better than to have the annual Valor Awards named the TAC Argentinis Valor Award.